After 20 long years of hard times, nearly ending with their franchise's demise, Intelligent Systems and Fire Emblem were on a roll. Merchandising, spin-offs, cameo appearances, and the full backing of Nintendo as a new major IP. Fire Emblem was now the gaming industry's latest, hottest commodity. Everyone wanted to work on this critically acclaimed franchise, now more than ever, and Nintendo was looking for the series' latest prospects. This came with the news of a partnership between the publisher and Japanese mobile gaming provider, DeNA. Nintendo wanted to enter the mobile phenomenon faster than any of its competitors at Sony and Microsoft, and felt that DeNA, the owners of the uber-successful Mobile platform, were the right partners in this effort. At the time, they announced 2 titles, an Animal Crossing mobile game, and a brand new Fire Emblem title courtesy of Intelligent Systems themselves. They wouldn't let just anyone take a hold of their brand. They wanted themselves to be responsible for this. Incidentally, they had been thinking about making a mobile Fire Emblem game for years, so this new opportunity from Nintendo was one that they had been waiting for. Co-directed by Kohei Maeda and Shingo Matsushita of Nintendo SPD, this fresh take on the Fire Emblem formula seemed like a simple thing to make. They could have just thrown a bunch of their older characters, the series' famous battle system, and a simple story together and call it a day. And yes, they would do exactly that. But in the best way possible that they could. Many Fire Emblem titles that had veterans like Toru Narihiro and Yuka Tsujiyoko, the majority of the team would be comprised of people who had worked on Fire Emblem Fates and Awakening. Hiriko Morishika was the main composer of the title, bringing much of the style that the series had developed over the past 4 years to the forefront. Kouta Nakimura, Satoko Kurihara, Yu Oshima, and Kohei Maeda himself would decide on how to make a Fire Emblem story work on the go. And lastly, Yusuke Kazaki returned as the lead character designer, a key position needed for one of the most important features of the game, the entire franchise's lineup of heroes. There were new characters for this adventure for sure, but the crux of the whole project was bringing many of the classic heroes back to life to introduce them to modern audiences, an idea they had been tinkering with in Awakening and Fates. The best part of this, though, is that they would all be voiced, many for the first time in countries outside of Japan, with new and exciting designs created by the very best artists in the Japanese industry. Wada Sachiko, Ueda Yumehito, Himuka Yuji, Fujisaka Kimihiko, Hako, and so many more lent their talents to make each and every character look visually distinct from one another, with Kozaki especially drawing the main characters to go along with Fire Emblem's established style. As this would be Fire Emblem's first consecutive global release, the art wasn't even half of it. The voice acting, now that was the difficult part. They needed to gather hundreds of actors together for the 39 countries they were releasing in combined, with each voicing the little quips that gives the character's personality. Intelligent Systems wanted this to be a celebration of all things Fire Emblem. If the characters didn't feel like their original selves, then it would all be for nothing. But mobile development isn't as taxing as other mediums, so they were able to get the game out right on time. Fire Emblem Heroes, releasing on February 2nd, 2017 worldwide, was the Fire Emblem you knew and loved, simplified for mobile convenience. You play as the Summoner, a hero who has been summoned from another world to save the kingdom of Asker from the evil Emblem Empire, and their leader, Princess Veronica. The world you enter is very unique from other Fire Emblem realms, as the 2 warring kingdoms possess the ability to open and close portals to classic Fire Emblem worlds, and either recruit or steal the heroes that live there to fight by their side. Joining the Order of the Heroes alongside Prince Alphonse, Princess Sharina, and their leader Anna, it's your job to free the heroes of these worlds and defeat the Emblem Empire. And that's about it. Other than a few cutscenes here and there, there's relatively no story at all. You just go through the various worlds, fight and free the heroes held captive there, and rinse and repeat. At the moment, Fire Emblem Heroes is the most simplistic and dull story the Fire Emblem series has ever had, but this game was never really meant for that anyway. The gameplay and heroes were what were most intriguing. Unlike the plot, The gameplay is essentially the same. Using the weapon triangle system that they had had for the past decade and a half, it was only tweaked in the sense that all of the weapon types were now color-coded, making it easier to understand what each of them was weak to. Fighting was made much easier too. All you have to do is simply move an ally over to the enemy using the touchscreen and, depending on their stats and weapon of choice, you either win or lose. Permadeath, unfortunately, was completely thrown out to prevent frustration from new Fire Emblem fans, with hard and lunatic level difficulties being unlockable over time. When you aren't in the mood for playing through the main story, there are other modes to unlock, like the Training Tower, where you can gain more EXP, shards, and crystals to level up, arena duels that let you fight against other players' teams, special maps that let you recruit a new character each day alongside other events, and lastly, paralogs, which play out as side stories like any other Fire Emblem game. Heroes also only uses 4 units on the battlefield, as the maps were made to be 8x6 grids so they could easily fit onto the screen of a smartphone. But this team of 4 is as customizable as any other Fire Emblem game, with over 100 heroes to choose from that either consist of the classic games like the Binding Blade or more recent ones like Fates. The ability to pick your favorite characters from across the decades was something to behold, each with a bio that told you exactly who they were and where they came from. Yet, you couldn't just choose your favorites from the start. Oh no, you had to pray that the summoning ritual would bring forth the ones you desired, with a good star level to match. Stamina was another feature, or rather, hindrance, that came into play that stopped you from playing for a time unless you either waited or coughed up some cash. Just like any other mobile title, Fire Emblem Heroes was laden with microtransactions, and the orbs were Fire Emblem's method of choice. While you could earn 1 a pop by playing through each of the story's 9 chapters, along with several challenges and events, there was always the option to take the easy route and pay for more orbs to gain more heroes. Thankfully, Intelligent Systems built the summoning ritual as a completely randomized mechanic. If someone decided to pay, say, $1,000, they might not even see all of the characters in the game, leveling the playing field between players. Kohei Maeda and his team wanted anyone to have a chance to play a Fire Emblem title, which is why they made it free to play. However, they didn't want anyone to steamroll through it just because they were rich. That's why, everything else, the features essential to the gameplay, are free and have to be earned through your hard work and determination. Fire Emblem Heroes was definitely a Fire Emblem game for sure, but its mobile inner workings might have hindered it a bit. This was a necessary evil, however, as how could a free game ever be profitable without them? Even if most people play it for free forever, the other fans are certainly content to spend their hard-earned cash, since Fire Emblem Heroes has raked in $2.9 million globally on the first day, no less. This little app is definitely an enigma in the long line of Fire Emblem titles. Its story is nearly non-existent, its gameplay is forgiving at times, and its characters take forever to obtain. Still, Heroes stands as a celebration of all things Fire Emblem. People who had never played any other games outside of Fire Emblem Awakening and Fates, and others who would have never even guessed that there were Japanese-only Fire Emblem titles out there, could catch a glimpse of its history. Fire Emblem Heroes is a vehicle for the entire series to be introduced to the world and for everyone to find out what they've been missing. If anything, we must at least be thankful that they all will find out what a glorious franchise Fire Emblem truly is.
Hello there, dear viewer, and welcome back to Chronicles after such a long time. We're finally getting everything to gear. I'm finally motivated again, and we're finally doing new episodes. I'm finally finishing up Fire Emblem. First with this episode on Fire Emblem Heroes, and then next with the finale for the Echoes series, and have part 2 of that and the complete version of that finally out. And then eventually, whenever Lockstin wants it to upload it, the full documentary for Fire Emblem. It's been a long time coming, and I'm sorry for the way a lot of things have been happening. I I should have been working on the channel when I was doing other things, but all that's out of the way now, and now I can come back to this channel and focus on it and bring it to the peak that I want it to be. So that is all the news I wanted to give you for the channel. For the video, I have a couple things I want to talk to you about. For example, let's do this new segment called Bonus Fact. Every episode from now on, I'm gonna talk about like a fact that either I found out after I made the episode or something that I just couldn't fit in, but it was interesting all the same. So for this one, I'm not really sure if this is a fact. This is just a speculation on my part. But after investigating Mobage, the platform, and many of the games that came out in it, specifically Grand Blue Fantasy, and comparing that to Fire Emblem, a lot of similarities come to mind. The way they have their conversations set up is exactly like Fire Emblem Heroes, except they're fully voiced because it's a more mainline mobile game and everything. And everything seems eerily similar to Fire Emblem Heroes in a lot of aspects. Well, with Fire Emblem Heroes having its own little niche and little thing that's its own. It kind of makes sense now that they were able to make it in 1 year when they had no knowledge of mobile games and they had no idea how to code and do all that stuff for mobile games. It makes sense they were able to do it in a year thanks to DNA. And putting those two together and 1 and 2 together, everything kind of makes sense. I can't believe I never was able to do that for the main video and the documentary and all that, but it's just how it is. That also leads into the question, so what do you think of Fire Emblem Heroes? Did you play it? Did you think it was just a fad that has passed on? Or do you think it's a really good, legitimate Fire Emblem game and you're still playing it to this day? I'd like to hear what you have to say in the comment section down below. Otherwise, that is it from me. Be sure to look out for Fire Emblem Echoes, the final complete Fire Emblem documentary, variety of stories, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and a giant, huge, massive, 5-hour long mega documentary that encompasses the entirety of Volume 1. Be prepared for Volume 2, where we have Pokemon, Tales, Legend of Zelda, and Persona. It'll be an exciting time to be on this channel, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it. For now, I will leave you with this video and whatever you have in the future. And make sure to continue that thirst for knowledge as always. And a special thanks to patrons Daryl Quinton, George Jose Gonzalez, Robert Fittis, Chipper Angles Negrete, Flopie, Natalie Newman, Benjamin Falk, and Glenn Daughtery for your help making this channel a reality.